All right. And now we only have 9 games left. Or 8 games left. Shouldn't there be 9 games?
I'm going to get my coffee real quick.
3, 4, 5. Oh, there's 9 games. Okay. So we looked at 9 games. 9, 9, 9. And there were 9 decisive results. Okay. And now we have 9 more games. The final standings, even though the tournament's not over, so it's hard to call them final, is Hikaru Nakamura first, Dingler in second, Carlsen third, Caruana fourth, Nepomniachtchi was fifth, I think, Ferrugia sixth, Giri seventh, MVL eighth. Giri did better than MVL. MVL last place.
Okay.
Frankly.
Terrible.
Right. Wait, you're drinking coffee?
Yeah.
What'd you put in it? You put in the little creamers?
I wrote, no, this is from home.
Oh, that's from home.
Mm-hmm.
And you put it in a cup? Right.
I had it in a thermos.
Ah. All right. The more you donate, the more money we have. Don't review any more games. Keep it at 9. Incorrect. Although that is good. We'll just do 9 more. 9, 9, 9. The final match. I mean, Hikaru and Ding are the 2 best, but I want Fabi to beat Hikaru. But Hikaru winning is okay. Mm-hmm. You probably want Fabi to win, right? Against Hikaru? Or you don't care?
Yeah, Fabi.
And then Ding is obviously going to beat Magnus. So that would be an interesting final.
Yeah, what Fabi and Ding?
Yeah, Fabi and Ding would be, I mean, Hikaru and Ding is the most likely. But Fabi could win. Fabi beat him already. Yeah. All right. Yeah, Magnus is obviously the biggest underdog of the 4. Cause,
I like them all.
Just the way they're playing in the tournament. Playing terrible. All right. So MVL versus Naka, Trampowski. And, pretty equal. Pretty equal. All right. Now Nakamura decided to trap his queen, and MVL said, nah, I'm not going to take your queen. We're going to trade queens. So Nakamura played very dangerous, moving his queen in there, trying to trap his own queen. The engine doesn't like it. But he played F3, which is connect 4. So I don't know. I'm sort of torn on that. But now you'll never win the queen because black can always trade queens. So the engine doesn't like F3. The engine doesn't like A5. White lost his 2 bishops. He's still not trapping the queen. And they traded queens. All right, so black is now better because he didn't lose his queen. He's got nice position here. Nice fianchetto bishop. The rook is stupid, etc. All right, and Naka built up a winning position, strategically winning position. Great position for black. White's position, frankly, is terrible. D4 I like because it wins the B pawn. Black has 2 connected passed pawns. Good. Great play. Okay, then he repeated. Good. Perfect. Great. Always repeat. Okay. And the engine says black's doing great. Okay, now here, what's the best move according to the engine?
Bishop F8.
Always play bishop F8. But he didn't do it. Nobody listens to me. Okay. All right. And they got this position where Hikaru has outplayed MVL. He's got 2 passed pawns. Got knight on D5. White has no pawn breaks. The engine says black has a huge advantage, right? Mm-hmm. And now every move Hikaru made was ridiculous. Like bad move, bad move, bad move, bad move. What? What does he mean? Okay, bishop C5, never trade. That's a bad move. King G7's all right. I'll give him a break. All right. Knight B4 is the worst move ever. Letting the rook come in. That doesn't make any sense. The knight was great on D5. And then this is a terrible move. And now only white can win. White gets this nice knight in here. Passed pawn. Connect 4. What was this? What? Okay. So this is already really bad for black. Always repeat. And then rook takes this move is the most nonsensical move ever in chess history. Rook takes here, giving him more passed pawns. What? So the engine says after rook here, black should turn on Netflix and chill, and then probably draw because he just sits here. But after here, he just resigned. That was just nonsensical. Yeah, now black can't move. Black's in Wang Chung. See the thermometer? Mm-hmm. Rook takes d6 is crazy bad. It's so bad. And then he resigned because he can't move after h4. What does the engine say?
Plus 10.
Yeah.
Plus 12.
Right. I mean, but I mean, rook takes d6 is like the worst one I've ever seen. Like giving him another passed pawn. What? These guys don't understand. Never trade. They don't understand nothing. Now what does it say?
And plus 16.
Yeah. Frankly, terrible. All right. So Nakamura totally outplayed MVL, strategically winning, then made all blunders and lost. Terrible. Okay. Next game was similar, but in reverse. Trompowski again. Okay, and black's fine. White's fine. Everybody's fine. Everybody's closer to fine. Very unusual opening. And finally, they got this boring position. Then it got really exciting. Now, in this position, Hikaru played rook c1, which the engine said is frankly terrible. You don't want your rook here. He could play queen d2, attacking the rook. And then if they trade rooks, his rook's not on d1 anymore. It's a very strange move, rook c1. Okay, so black's a little bit better. Not much. Always retreat. It now got really exciting. Okay, and Zoidberg actually, on Zoom, Zoidberg was talking to Hikaru, and he said, stop, it's too exciting. So they had to abort. That was a great episode, by the way. They go to another dimension, and they're racing on the Mobius strip, and then he said, stop, it's too exciting. That was a great episode. Okay, so watch this. This is too complicated for the audience. Rook e8 threatening the queen. You got that? Knight d5, confusing the audience.
It's not that hard.
So if you take this, you get mated. If you take this, you lose your queen.
Yeah, I can.
So he
see
played
that.
bishop e6. Now I'm going to tell you something funny. Okay?
Yeah.
Black has no threat here. If it's black's turn to move, he can't take anything. All captures are bad. You agree?
Yeah.
Okay. So white played f5 because all captures are bad, so I'm going to take your bishop. You see what I'm saying? So you can't take that, you can't take that, you can't take that, you can't take that. You agree. Okay? So you got to put it in H. The reason you can't take the queen is because knight takes forks the king and queen, so king h8. Now you can take the queen.
Right.
Okay, these are all the best moves. Snake Oil Scrub subscribed.
Yay.
Now white only has one move that doesn't lose. Impossible to find. He played it, but it's not impossible. Frankly, ridiculous. Like this is hanging, this is hanging, this is hanging, right? When you have a piece hanging, you want to move that piece and attack another piece. And you want small pieces to attack big pieces, right? That's the smallest piece for white. That's the biggest piece for black. You agree? So the answer is?
Knight b4.
Correct. And now it's equal. If you don't play knight b4, you resign. But now you're okay. Now, black has a clearly best move. Queen a8. Very similar to Nepomniachtchi's queen c1 in the previous game. Yeah. Okay, and now the queen has to move, and it's equal material. How'd that happen? Okay, now you see these 3 pawns?
Yeah.
You see those 3 pawns? In 20 moves, they're all passed. 6 passed pawns. Are you shocked and appalled or just shocked? Okay, so we'll go quickly because I want to get to that position. Yay! 6 passed pawns.
Yep.
Yeah, that's exciting. Now, the game was always equal, but this is more fun. Now, of these pawns, which is the most likely to queen?
The H pawn.
The H pawn. And, if white starts queening, okay. So he's like, I don't need this pawn. Queen g2, hanging a pawn with check. Because he's like, here we go. Because the queen defends all 3 squares, right? So can't lose now. So white has to perpetual, otherwise black queens. And black is stopping white from queening. So you see why he did that.
Yeah.
And then Hikaru perpetualed him. All right, and then he drew a draw. It was always a draw, but I like queen g2 because h3, h2, h1. Yeah, very good game. Very exciting. The answer could be fries. Okay, Now Hikaru's down 1.5 half. This is game 3. Double fianchetto. You know those fianchettos that are like double fianchettos?
Mm-hmm.
It's a Simpsons reference.
Oh, I am impressed.
All right. So it's like a reverse Benoni.
Yeah.
And the engine says F6 is, suspicious. I knew he was going to play F6. I called it because he played knight E8 in this position. So he wants to play F6, E5, getting connect 4. And he did. And then he said, no, bishop here. Haha, you can't get connect 4. All right, so he sacks a pawn and puts his knight on C4. That's why he sacked that C pawn. Nice knight. And the engine likes white. It's too complicated. See how complicated it is? All right, and it's always, for some reason, it's all zeros. Sacks the exchange. Now in this position, here. So white's down the exchange because he sacked the exchange. And now he can take the rook or take the pawn. Now you don't have to know which is better, just have to know my rules. Always play.
Bishop F8.
Right, and the engine says after bishop F8, white's slightly better,
Yeah.
probably a draw. But he took the pawn. Always got to keep the 2 bishops. The engine doesn't like that move. And now black's up the exchange. Okay, then Hikaru was winning very straightforwardly, playing very good. Okay, then in this position, Hikaru was confusing the audience, which was me. Notice you could play knight takes b3. Notice that's the engine move. Then black's up at exchange and, probably winning. But he never took that pawn. So what? That pawn was going down the board. Man, look at that pawn. What's he doing? Yeah, frankly, terrible. So now white has 2 pawns for an exchange. And that pawn is still there. So that was very unusual technique. Okay, that's what she said. And in this position, if you take the knight, then you see the fork. Cool. Yeah, cool. So he didn't fall for that. Played here. All right. And this I thought would be a draw. And then Hikaru tricked him. What?
I took the pawn.
That's correct. Yeah. Okay. And I thought this would be a draw, but he tricked him good. This is the game that doesn't end. It just goes on and on, my friend. Man, talk about a game never ending. Man. This is like my lawsuit against the movie The Never Ending Story. Simpsons. All right. That's a mistake, but he didn't play rook h2, which is... All right. Watch this trick that he plays. And tricks are for kids. The trick comes later. Nothing happens for like 40 moves.
Who does the trick?
Naka.
Naka.
Really good trick. Okay. So in this position, white played the losing move. It's possible white's losing, but they've made like 800 moves in a row and nothing happened. So probably he's not losing. Black's done nothing. Okay. Now he plays this move. Notice the king is defending the knight. So the king can't move. So Naka plays genius move here. Way too hard for Puzzle Rush. G5 check. You can't take it with the king because you lose your knight. So you take with the pawn. And now here comes the judge. These rooks are very well placed for queening the pawn. They control the 7th and 8th rank. And this gains a tempo. So that G5 was great. And black wins out of easy now. Yeah. Checked him a few times though. And then he resigned. If you play here, then double up on the bubble up. And then queen or take the knight, whatever. So Hikaru tied it up in a game that went 90 moves plus tax with no tax. All right, last game of this match, unless it's an overtime. Another Trampowski. Both sides move their H-pawn. That's how you know it's 2020. Okay. Now in this position, the engine wants to sack a piece. Knight takes H5. Takes, queen takes, king G8, G4. And says white has a crushing attack. Rook G1, G5, rawr. And it loves white. It says white's doing great. Okay? And he didn't do that. I don't blame him. He played knight c3. He played d5. Now it's just equal. Okay, now the match should have ended. Here, black played triple question mark move. Okay, double question mark's not enough. The obvious move is knight takes c6, and the engine says it's equal. MVL blundered here, and the match is over, except Hikaru didn't take it. So he played bc. Notice this is not defended as much because the knight's not on c6, where the knight's defending it. The rook is overworked, right? It's not rook d8 check, and it stopped being bishop f7. Now, obviously, you have to take the bishop, otherwise you lose like 7 pawns. Now you get forked. How do you save your bishop?
Can't you go rook f8?
That's correct. And then, god damn. And then you take the rook, they take the bishop. All right, and then you see what it says.
Yeah.
So he has to play king h7, and then takes, and then white's up a pawn, and he's got that action. And the game's over. I mean, this is ridiculous. Yeah. So so MVL blundered a 1-move win, and Hikaru didn't play bishop f7. And by the way, in this particular tournament, a lot of blunders are going unpunished. The reason is, when Hikaru plays me, he's like, okay, did Ben blunder? Did Ben blunder? It's like when I play you guys. Every move you make, every breath you take, I'll be watching you, right? Ooh, I stung them good. Stung. Okay, yeah, I should call the police. Anyway, so when you guys make a move, I'm like, okay, how does that hang 5 queens? And then I find it and you resign. When I play Hikaru and Caruana and Carlsen, I'm not expecting them to hang mate in 1 or their queen. So when they do, I don't see it. The most famous example, obviously, I'm sure you're thinking of it now, is Szabo Reshevsky 1953, right?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. So go to the internet now, which you're already on, and look up Szabo Reshevsky. Now, what are they thinking right now? What are they thinking? Do you know what they're thinking? They're thinking, how the hell do you spell Szabo? That's what they're thinking. S-Z-A-B-O. S-Z-A-B-O. Reshevsky. How do you spell Reshevsky?
I can spell Reshevsky.
Right. Zurich 53. Reshevsky hangs mate in 2. Like checkmate. And then Szabo plays something else and they drew later. Then when they said, why didn't you mate him in 2? It says, when you play Reshevsky, you don't look for mate in 2. He doesn't hang mate in 2. Right? That's true. Yeah, Laszlo Szabo. Yeah. I remember that game. See? Yeah. Okay. In that game, it was like a bishop here and a king here. You see that? And he played, queen takes g6 check was mate. And he played some other move. Okay. So here, if Hikaru's playing me, he's like, let's see if there's a winning move. Ben's terrible. That's it. But he's playing MVL, so he's like, ooh, MVL, let's put my rook on a bad square instead of this open file. That's, truth hurts. Yeah. How do you spell Zurich? How do you spell 53? That is correct. Somebody asked why he played here instead of here. You got me. God damn, that move is much worse. Okay. Anyway, now the game was mainly equal for most of the game. White was better, but great defense by MVL. Great defense. Also, rook takes e2 is genius. The idea is if you take with the king, bishop takes knight, bishop here. I'll show you a funny variation that would never happen. Mate. Although he would play rook c4 here. He wouldn't hang mate in 1. Okay, so after it takes, he took with the rook. And he got his exchange back. And white's slightly better because black has the stupid pawn structure. And Hikaru, I thought, should have won this, but he didn't. And black played a very bad f6 in this position when he played f6. F6 is terrible. The reason is these pawns are all protecting each other. After f6, if I can play rook here and pawn here, sometimes I just take all these pawns. f6 is really bad. You can see the engine evaluation. And Hikaru didn't win this, which he wins the match. Then Hikaru played very strange f3. Now, obviously, you guys are like, oh, Ben said never play. The moves are terrible. f6 is terrible and f3 is terrible. They're terrible. They're bad moves. No, they weaken all your pawns. No, that's terrible. All right. And as a result, he didn't win when he probably should have won this ending. Yeah, I don't know what this was all about. And then E4 is terrible. Yeah, Hikaru didn't play this very well. All right, and they drew. All the pawns disappeared. Oh, in this position, rook E4 is the only move that draws, otherwise white wins. That's pretty good. Good. But he found it. And that's the reason. The reason is we can play H3 and you can't take it because I take this. So he gets his pawn an extra square forward. All right, they like king versus king. So Hikaru was winning in one move, but didn't do it. So then he drew. Now they have Armageddon. In the Armageddon, MVL won the Armageddon, and MVL took white. Or did Hikaru win the Armageddon and take black? No, I think MVL won and took white. I think that's what happened. You guys remember? I'm pretty sure MVL won and took white. Pretty sure. Otherwise, I would have made fun of Hikaru for taking black again. Yeah, MVL won and took white, giving drives to his opponent. Yeah. Okay. So this game was about equal, and then MVL made like a 9 question mark move, 10 question mark move, 11 question mark move. Yeah, 11 question marks. You'll see. This is boring, right? You're bored.
Well, these are typical moves.
Yeah, this is a boring game. Okay. D5 is very good from Hikaru. Good. Okay. This is good. White's a little bit better here. White has the 2 bishops. White's a pawn up. Okay, knight D2 is not a good move, but all right. Okay, so this is good. White's up a pawn, and black has draw odds. Very, close to, tough. Okay, and now here comes the blunders. All right. So in this position, the engine says white's close to winning, and there's a very straightforward way to do it. It's sort of complicated. If possible, you'd like to play F5 attacking the knight, and then E6. And then, it looks good. But this knight is hanging if you play E6. So white should play rook D1 attacking the bishop. Might as well take a free pawn. F5, the knight moves somewhere, then E6, and the rook defends the knight. So now that looks pretty good. Then G4, that's looking white has good winning chances. Okay, that's what he should have done. Instead, he played like worst move ever. He played bishop B6. That's like what a bad player plays, like somebody who's a beginner at chess and like just learned the rules. That attacks the rook, but it undefends this pawn. So after rook D7, now this pawn's attacked and this pawn's attacked. So that was just dumb. Like he attacked him and then he's like, oh well. I guess Hikaru didn't hang his rook.
That's the kind of move I made.
Yeah, and the engine says, like, now it's just equal.
Yeah.
So now he went back and defended his pawn. And Hikaru, like, taking pawns. Now it's equal. Now, the worst blunders you've ever seen are coming up. These are the worst blunders of the tournament. I'm not kidding. You thought Magnus made the worst blunders, hanging mate and hanging all his pieces. No. Okay, now black's winning because white's playing bad. Okay, are you ready? I don't think you're ready for this.
I'm ready.
Okay, so black's winning. White played rook d8 check.
Okay.
What should black do?
Take it?
Yeah. So that's not good, is it?
No.
Hikaru played king h7.
Oh. Do you think it was a trick? Or why wouldn't he take it?
You didn't see it?
Oh. Was he low on time?
Well, come on. Rook d8 check, king h7? Come on. What's going on here? What's happening? All right, then he's like, oh, you don't want my rook? Here, I'll give it to you again. And he's like, all right. What's happening here? All right, now king h7 wins. It doesn't matter. But, I mean, he didn't see knight takes rook, obviously. I would have taken it. So that's, I mean, what's rook d8 check hanging your rook? What kind of move is that? What's going on here? All right. So very suspicious. King h7 wins easily. But what is this rook d8 check? What's happening here? All right. So that game, white was much better and or winning. And then he, like, every move ridiculous and lost. Now, I may be wrong, so you guys can correct me. And you too. Did MVL lose all the Armageddons? I think he did. All the Armageddons? Isn't there a song? All the Armageddons.
No.
You know the song I'm talking about.
No.
All the Young Dudes.
Oh.
He says yes.
That wasn't even close.
Oh, just the ones he played in. Yeah, I think he was 0-3 or 0-4 in Armageddon. That's not good. MVL's like a good blitz player. Now, if you thought that was bad, Rick Dietschak losing all the Armageddons, I'll give you worse. Are you sitting down? MVL did worse than Geary. MVL 8th, Geary 7th. Terrible. Man, we were making fun of Geary the whole tournament. Geary's not going to win a game, and MVL did worse. Damn. Written by Bowie? Yeah? All the young...
Well, yeah, I know the song. Your rendition wasn't very close.
No, it was good. All the Armageddons. You can do worse than losing all your games? That is correct. Geary won against Carlsen and lost against everybody else. Until the next match that we haven't looked at yet. Right, sweetie?